Welcome to this week's Code Cookie. We will continue with .NET Web Service today. And the last time I just showed you how to create a basic web service, how to get the config parameter in there, and how to get it inventoried in Zervicepoint. So this week we will actually try to do some cool stuff in the web service, and why not use the API I found here to get zip codes for an address. So this API is called PAP API, and it's free, and as you can see in the warning info here, it's not actually being updated anymore, but it's pretty cool because I don't know, the addresses doesn't perhaps change change that much, and maybe we can use it for zip codes at least. So what you can do is you can send in a post a zip code, and you can get it validated, and you can send an address and get that validated too, like this. And you can send in a street and a city and get all the applicable addresses for that combination. And if we look here on the examples, we can send in a street and a city, and it will respond with something like this. And if we want to try this before going into Visual Studio, we can try it in PowerShell, and it's very easy in PowerShell and forgiving, but in Visual Studio you need to do a little bit more. So I just create a couple of variables here with the token. So you need, if you want to use this API, you need to register here, and it's free. So immediately after registering, you will get an email with the API key. And you define these variables, and then you just run the invoke REST method commandlet, and we get two response back here. So I sent in a street and a city, and I got all the various possible street numbers here. So it's the same zip code twice, and the difference between the response here is the street numbers. Okay, so I have prepared a little here in Visual Studio. I have renamed our web service from divide number to get zip, and we actually don't need the zip address here, so we can remove that parameter, and I put city and street in here. And then we have the stuff we did last time. We tried to get the API key from the config file, and this is a part I added, which is you need to add TLS 1.2 to the security protocols when you do this kind of web requesting, because nowadays it will not work if you don't. Many servers have stopped using 1.1 or stopped allowing. And then I shamelessly stole some rows from internet here, just how you do a basic request. And what we want to do now is to fix this. So what we can do is can start out with, because the response will be in JSON here, so we will probably need to have some kind of objects. So to test out this code, it's probably easiest if we create an additional project and just do an console app. That tests service, and in this service, in this main window, we take var pap API, new pap API, and then we need to include that in the reference, project reference. Okay, so it's in here, and now, okay, and now, so we have that reference. Where is it? Using pap API. Oh. There. Pap API dot get zip. Yeah, and we need to have a new dictionary string. What was it called? API key. Then we, do that. And we need to have the API key as well. And I already have that in config here. So let's add it here. What more we need? We need city and street. So go with city. Street Kungsgatan config city street. There. If we go in here, yep. Let's build. Okay. Trying again. Build succeeded. Okay, I need to change startup. Yeah, started debug. Just stepping through here. Now we call the pap API, so I hit F11 to go in here. And then we try to do this web request, and we can actually... Oh, okay, so we need to have the address there as well, of course. Okay, I already prepared that, so I can just put it in here. Save, build. We start up here again, we can go directly there. F11, just gonna continue until here. And hit one step. Response from server, okay. So we got a response from the server now. If we just look at this, okay, so it seems to be addresses and stuff here. I will just copy this because I want to serialize this, because I don't want to just dump a JSON string back to our Zervicepoint form. I want to throw back a real object. And then there's a pretty cool website where you can go and convert JSON to C#. So I paste that there, and then we get a little class here. So I'm just gonna copy that, go back, stop debugging, go in here, do a new class, response or response class for the for our deserializer to use. Response. So that's pretty cool. We don't need to do this ourselves. We can use that web page to figure out how this class should look. And then we need to include in our PAP API project, we need to add a reference, or we need to add a NuGet packet for the newtons of the JSON deserializer. Would go browse here, and it's always on the top here, so we can just add it. Why not add it there as well? Okay. Good. So in this variable we have the string the JSON return value as a string, but we want to generate an object out of that. So if we just take there's some JSON converter where you can specify in this form. I think, okay, we need to add that ref or that using, and we have PAP API response. Don't have that. Oh, and we need to have it after here. There, and we need to store that. So let's go with results. So we'll get the results back. And we can actually just return results here. That should be fine. So I'm gonna build. Succeeded. And we go in here. Oops. We'll refresh. And I've added some JavaScript here. You can look at what I did. So I can start here. I created a function here that I declare once, and I just use that function on change on the other fields, city and street. So we have a drop down for zip codes here. I start out by clearing that, and then I just check that you have entered something in the street and city fields. And now, okay, I don't need to send in zip address here. I send in city and street in this web service. I log it out. And then this is just for debugging. I put it in the window variable just so you can F12 and do stuff with it. And I see if there's no message, because I noticed that this web service or the PAP API returns a message only when nothing was found. So I clear zip codes again. I don't really need to do that. Remove. And then we just put all the zip addresses from these objects into the zips array. And then we run a function called unique, which is not you can't use that in Chrome without first declaring it here. So this is just something that I stole online as well. The same goes for contains here. I log out all the unique zips, and then I add all these unique zips to the zip codes drop down. Save. Here. Refresh. Do we want to debug this? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, breakpoint there. And while debugging this, I need to attach to the W3 WP process. So that's what I do. And now it says it won't hit this. But I think if we just reload here, this will turn red, if I'm not mistaken. Did I build? We'll see. So if I write Göteborg, Kungsgatan. Okay, we'll get in here actually. Göteborg, Kungsgata. Okay, so it runs on change there, so we'll see. We can just run it down here. We can run it down here. Okay, so many threads coming in now. You can see on the blue indication here that many threads, a different thread than the one that we started out on as entered here. So I'm just going to continue. Click here. Come on. Okay. And now we're on a different thread again, so we jump back. Maybe I should do this in a different way, I don't know. Okay, so we can't deserialize this. Let's look at the response. Okay, so we got this message, nothing found here. So if I look on the text visualizer, this is a different object. Okay, so when we get an error, we get a slightly different class here. I'm going to create an error class immediately. There's different ways of doing this, but I think this is the simplest we can do at the moment. New item. Let's call it PAP API error. I can remove that. Okay, so we already have that in a different namespace. Let's call this namespace error. We call this response. And then we need to fix it in here as well. Good. I think we can just put try and catch around this. That will work. And if we get an error when we try to receive the answer, we can just try to parse this as an error instead. And we need to copier. Did we call it that? No. Okay. Let's build again. Our output is probably new, so I'm just going to restart IIS, and then we had a successful build. Gonna hit F5 here. And we write Göteborg, street, let's say Kungsgatan. And we got a zip code. And there seems to be 3 zip codes here on Kungsgatan in Göteborg. So let's take another place. We can take Stockholm. And there's a Kungsgatan in Stockholm as well. So with a bunch of zip codes. Same goes for Drottninggatan. Johan, say a street in Stockholm.
In Stockholm, I think one street is...
Where did Olof Palme get shot?
Sveavägen.
Yeah, I can confirm he got shot there. No, I got a bunch of zip codes. Okay, so what we do now is actually, or if we look at what we have accomplished here, we can look on the JavaScript, and we have we just combine our small JavaScript here with the web service, and we get some kind of value out of it. And I think the PAP API has some potential. At least you can use it as a help for filling out an address. Perhaps you can verify or help populating with zip addresses and stuff like that. But you should not rely on it, as it's not being updated anymore. There are APIs that are constantly updated, but they cost like 2 crowns per request. So maybe it's worth it for you. But I don't know. And in here we just added the Newtonsoft JSON library, and we did a basic web request like we did in PowerShell, and then we deserialized it from JSON to an object that we could return out to the JavaScript afterwards. So hope that you have gotten something out of this video, and see you next week on next week's Code Cookie. Bye.